Holden had long grown used to living in the shadows of the powerful Farrell family, but recent events had pushed him into an even deeper pit of helplessness. When Marco and his brothers returned home, their warm smiles and cheerful greetings were nothing but a distraction from the truth they all silently understood. Their father wanted money, not things, not food, not gifts, but actual cash. And none of them dared to give it to him freely anymore. They remembered the last time they secretly handed him large sums. Holden, who barely had any access to money under Clarissa's watchful eye, saved every dollar. To him, a few $1,000s was a fortune. In Clarissa's strict household, such money could easily enable him to act against her, embarrass her, or worse, cross her in a way that would unleash dangerous consequences. The brothers no longer had the courage to give him enough to make Clarissa suspicious. A few hundred now, and then might be fine, but daily contributions were far too risky. Even so, they knew their father resented this limitation. Back inside the house, Holden slumped onto the sofa, lit a cigarette, and sank into the weight of his failures. His life had become a chain of regrets. As a husband, he had been overpowered and controlled until he barely existed as an individual. As a father, he looked at his sons and saw men who respected him out of obligation, rather than genuine loyalty. Even his grandchildren held a higher status within the Farrell family than he did. Clarissa adored her descendants, but Holden had never truly held her heart. Whoever she favored, child, grandchild, or heir, rose to a position of influence. He remained an afterthought. Decades earlier, Holden had willingly stepped into Clarissa's world, believing that becoming her son in law would bring him ease, wealth, and a comfortable life. Instead, he found himself swallowed by her dominance. The Jensen family, grateful for the benefits they received from the Farrells, pressured Holden constantly. They reminded him to obey Clarissa, to never upset her, to keep their fortune secure. And Holden complied, even when it cost him his pride. Marco and his brothers tried to soothe him, insisting that their strictness wasn't born from disrespect, but from fear of their mother. Clarissa could easily track where their funds went, and she noticed they were giving their father too much money. She would punish them without hesitation. They promised they would buy him anything he needed, but Holden felt humiliated. He didn't want groceries or clothes. He wanted the freedom that cash offered, something he had been denied for years. Overcome with frustration, he insisted that the amounts he requested were small compared to the millions he once handled. A few $100s a day should not have caused any concern. Even so, his sons hesitated. They had learned to be cautious. Their mother's reach extended into every corner of the household. Holden's bitterness deepened as he reflected on Clarissa's long buried secrets, especially the man she had loved before she seized control of the family. He knew the rumors, the whispers that Clarissa had killed her own sister, driven by jealousy and unrequited love. He suspected that much of the Farrell family's dark history began with that forbidden affection. Clarissa's cruelty, her meteoric rise, and her dominance all made sense in the context of a woman hardened by heartbreak. He wondered whether the man she once loved was still alive, or whether she was grieving over a grave she had finally found. Faced with his father's growing despair, Marco finally relented. He emptied the cash in his wallet and handed it over. Reluctantly, Noel and Sage followed. Within minutes, Holden had tens of thousands in his pockets, more than he'd seen in years. Relief washed over him as he imagined the freedom this money could bring: cigarettes, social gatherings, dignity. These small pleasures felt like luxuries after years of financial suffocation. He immediately began planning. If each of his sons gave him daily pocket money, even just a few dollars, he could save a substantial amount every month, enough to prepare for his future, especially if the Farrell family eventually changed hands. He dreamed of returning to his hometown, living in his modest house comfortably, hiring a caretaker, and finally escaping Clarissa's grip. However, his sons understood the risks. Before the day ended, they agreed that they would need to tell Clarissa about the small cash they gave their father. Transparency was the only way to protect themselves, even if it meant exposing Holden's hard earned lifeline.